So this is your first feature, but you've done lots of other stuff, shorts and things before. So obviously you weren't going in entirely unprepared, but obviously a feature film is a whole different idea and a process. So how was that transition for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one because, in some ways, looking back, I'm like, oh, I could have actually made this leap a bit sooner. But had I made it sooner, the film definitely wouldn't be, in the state it's in now. It would be, a much rougher film because with every little piece that you work on, you get better and better at your craft. And that's the goal, is to always be better. Artists were always picking apart our work and being like, oh, well, that's not quite good enough. But
Yeah,
but yeah, it feels good to finally get it out there into the world.
nice. Well, congratulations. Tell us, I guess, spoiler free, but give us a general synopsis rundown of what people can expect.
It's about how newly developed teleportation technology is affecting real world issues like the refugee crisis. And we focus on that specifically with immigration. It follows two refugees who are trying to escape genocide in their home country. And in the process, they trust the wrong back alley teleporter and are separated and human trafficked during the process. So then they have to find a way to try to reunite and escape their captors.
Fantastic. And I've seen the film, so I won't give anything away, but it does touch on a lot of different interesting topics and some very interesting, unexpected characters, I guess, along the way. You meet
Mhm.
a lot of interesting people, good and bad. But how was it going from seeing that original idea on a piece of paper to actually realizing it? Has it changed much along the way? Were there loads of points where it stopped and started? Has it been a smooth process? Obviously, no filmmaking is smooth, but how has the whole process worked for you so far?
Sure. So it started out in life as a short film. Basically, I had already done a series of short films. I had worked with an actor, Chris Kyriacou, who ended up coming on board as a producer and actor on Coyote as well. And after working with him on one previous short film called Samaritan that he acted in, he was like, "Hey, let's do another project together. What are your slate of ideas?" And so I think I gave him about three log lines. And the one that really bounced to the top was this teleportation sci-fi short. It was called Passage at the time. So I wrote that summer 2020. It kind of has the same structure and the same characters, but I never got it into production because I found that doing short film after short film was taking a lot of my energy away from advancing my career as a feature filmmaker. So I showed the script around. I showed it to my DOP, Josh Birch, as well. And by the end of 2021, everybody was like, okay, we haven't made a short film, in a while. It's been over a year. We got to do something. Let's get something into production. So I was like, okay, well, if we're going to do this leap, it's a pretty ambitious short. It's going to take me at least 3 days to do it right. Um, we plan to shoot in January, which is notoriously dead for the industry. So Josh said, we can, wrangle lots of deals and favors to go out and, make this short film. And I was like, well, instead of walking away with another short film, what if we push ourselves a little bit harder and make it a feature film? So that's exactly what I did. I went away, I took those 10 pages. I was, yeah, just in a whirlwind. I think I wrote 5 drafts in 6 weeks.
Wow.
While after writing the first draft, while I was working on subsequent, we got it straight into pre-production. We started casting, started looking for locations, and yeah, tweaks were there. It was kind of stewing in my brain for a while, but when it came time to pull the trigger, it was kind of full force ahead.
Nice, nice. And have there been challenges that you've faced along the way? Has it been a enlightening experience making a feature film? Was it what you expected?
Um, I mean, yes and no. I mean, the good side of it is, a short film, you don't have much room to explore nuance and
Yeah,
real development with character arcs. So it was
yeah,
so nice to not have to go to kind of the lowest common denominator of stereotypes and tropes and have more room to breathe within the scenes.
yeah.
But at the same time, it's, you have to have that endurance. The longest I'd ever been on set in a directing capacity before with shorts and commercials and web series, I think was 5 days in a row. And, with a feature film, it's, significantly longer than that. So you're kind of, flexing the same muscles, but over a longer period of time. The stakes are higher, there's finance involved. And yeah, I'd say on the back end of it, there's a lot of stuff that you don't realize as a short filmmaker that's headed your way as a feature filmmaker. Things that distributors are going to want, things the legal department's going to want, and insurance and stuff like that. So overall, it's been a great experience, learning curve for sure, and I'm sure I'll walk away stronger filmmaker for it.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit about the subject matter of the film. It's a sci-fi thriller, would you say, with sci-fi political thriller, maybe? How would you describe the genre?
Yeah, I mean, I always say it's kind of a thinly veiled social commentary. So it's got that sci-fi hook into it, but it's very much coming from a blended genre perspective. So instead of following the stereotypical sci-fi tropes, it takes that one sci-fi element, but applicates it in a very real world sense. I mean, the closest references that come to mind would be something like Children of Men, right? So dystopian sci-fi, thriller, drama, blended genre.
Nice, something for everyone. And were they issues that were particularly relevant or interesting to you, or was it just the fact that you hadn't seen these stories told very often? So we're obviously talking about the refugee crisis, treatment of LGBTQ plus people around the world, divide between rich and poor. Like there's loads of interesting current political issues, political scandals, which we're very used to dealing with in the UK at the moment. That's like day to day. So how did you draw upon those stories? What interested you about them?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I absolutely love films that entertain audiences, and I absolutely love films that are saying something more than just pure entertainment. That's my favorite thing to watch. Something that's giving me deeper insight into the human experience. So naturally, that's the type of thing that I'm going to try to make. I think the real pivotal moment was the Jeffrey Epstein story. And I recently, immigrated from the US to the UK. And so, in a sense, I have that immigrant experience, but it's the absolute most privileged version of the experience. And seeing firsthand how difficult it was for me, how expensive it was for me, I can only imagine how difficult it is for people who don't speak the language, people who are vulnerable and, don't have the money, and how the most vulnerable can be, taken advantage of by people in power. So with the Jeffrey Epstein story, for any listeners who are, unfamiliar, this is a guy who was a human trafficker who was rubbing elbows with some of the most powerful people on the planet, from, bigwigs in Hollywood to, presidents, princes. And on his island was girls that he'd, groomed and human trafficked. And juxtaposing that experience with seeing these very high-level politicians villainizing immigrants and refugees and kind of pointing the finger, saying, oh, those people across the border are the reason your life is hard, and those people are coming to steal your jobs. I mean, even Trump saying they're rapists, right? And I was like, interesting that somebody who's rubbed elbows with a real-life human trafficker has the audacity to say that refugees are rapists. So I'd say that was really the pivotal moment that gave me that idea, that spark. And this isn't too much of a spoiler alert, but the film isn't too favorable on its politician characters. It doesn't put them in the best light.
And it obviously it's set in a slightly dystopian world, as you said, and the use of technology is interesting. How does sort of the elements of sci-fi allow you to explore that that story in a more interesting way. Because I think if this was a standard drama, it would still be a great story, but having that technological element means that you can play around with the different the before and the after, the time zones, the technology. How did that work for you, incorporating those?
Yeah, well, I mean, that was really my hook into it. My theory is, while I personally love to watch a lot of these social dramas, a lot of times all you're doing is preaching to the choir, with people who already know it's important to, take care of refugees. I think by putting a sci-fi hook into it and advertising the film as a sci-fi film, you're going to open the themes throughout it to a much wider audience, that are just going in looking for a bit of fun. Because sci-fi is fun, but my favorite pieces of sci-fi are really digging deeper. There, it's like Brave New World and 1984. Even Planet of the Apes is a fun film, but it has a lot to say. So I kind of wanted to join that legacy, and that was the real motivating factor, is being at the cusp of entertainment and social commentary.
Nice. And the casting, how did that come about? Were these people that were actors that you had worked with before, people that came through a casting session, or what was the whole process? How did you find the cast of this film?
Yeah, a bit of both. So there were some people that I wrote the roles specifically for. I'm looking back there and I see Censor on your wall. So Censor actor who's in a supporting role, he plays the video store clerk, Richard Glover.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
I'd worked with him before, so I wrote the role for him in Coyotes. But I was just went to him and said, I wrote this for you, please do it. I'd known him before, we worked on one thing before. Was delighted to get him on board. So it was kind of that with a couple people as well. Ailish, I'd seen her work. I'd never worked with her before, but I'd seen her work and I loved it. So wrote the role for her. And then we also worked with the casting director, Alyssa Rogers and Matt Shepard. Alyssa worked casting Ted Lasso, so she was able to really knock down some doors with us. We had the idea because Chris, my co-producer, had done some drama classes with our lead Therica. So he kind of flagged her to me. And Alyssa was able to really help, seal the deal and stuff like that. And she's great. Audiences may know her from Netflix's The Witcher. That's kind of her big thing at the moment. So I mean, she does a fantastic job. Nice.
I'm working with producers who are also actors and producers who, like yourself as well. How does that help in terms of developing a sort of, I guess it's quite a collaborative environment if you're working with people that know the industry from lots of different angles?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I like to host a most collaborative set as possible. And especially I think when you're working on a micro budget like we were, you want to walk away with a project that is equally valuable to all of the collaborators in terms of a portfolio space. I mean, the way I like to think of it is our project was, made by artists who took the leap and decided to greenlight themselves, because getting your first break in the industry is a very difficult thing to do. Kind of piggybacking off some of the success with Samaritan, we were able to get some meetings pitching it as a feature version to places like BBC and Channel 4, and it was great to finally have those opportunities. But the answer was always the same, which was, oh, you've never made a feature film before, so no. So it was like, okay, well, if you need to have made a feature film in order to get greenlit to make a feature film, then how can I write a script that is, super punchy, super catchy, but can also be made realistically at a stretch with the collaborators that I have in front of me? And, I would say probably 70% of the people, behind the scenes for this production graduated with me from the shorts that we'd made to this feature. So we were really all kind of collectively believing in ourselves.
Awesome. That's great. And so where are you at with the film at the moment? So am I right in thinking it's released in the States?
Just about.
On the 20th or now?
Yep.
The 20th? Yep. And then you've just been at Romford Film Festival, is that right? Yeah. Yep. So how was that festival viewing? How did you enjoy that? And then what are the plans for taking it forward beyond this?
Sure. Yes, we had our world premiere at the Phoenix Film Festival in, I think it was the end of March, beginning of April. That was great. They gave us 3 screenings. We were able to pick up some buzz over the course of those 3 screenings and sold out our last one, which was super cool. Then we had our UK premiere, as you mentioned, at Romford, also sold out that one. So again, fantastic. And we won the audience award there.
Nice.
Next up, we're going to be in the UK at the Kingston International Film Festival at the end of the month. That is on June 25th. And yeah, if you're in North America, US, Canada, Mexico, you can start streaming the film from the 20th of June. And right now, our sales agent is trying to negotiate other aspects of the world, including the UK and other international territories. So expecting an update any day on that as far as where we will be next and when.
Nice. So I look forward to hearing more news soon. Before we go, if you had 3 words to sum up to get people to get invested, get interested in this film, what would be the 3, they can be nonsense words, but what 3 words would you pick?
Okay. Teleportation and human trafficking.
Nice. Yeah. Like the classic combo. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Any final words on the experience of making the film, or what you want people to take away from the film? What would what would you hope that people would take away from watching your film?
Yeah, I mean, I think as I alluded to before, I think the film is a bit of a gateway drug. So it's I hope people choose to watch it because they think it's going to be entertaining, which I certainly hope it lives up to that for them. But then once they're done with it, I hope it leaves them with questions, and so they can open up conversation with the people they watch it with. I don't think art can, in and of itself, can cause social change, but I think what it does is it starts the conversation that can start social change, and it's just cool to be a part of that conversation, and hopefully it can be very thought-provoking so smarter people than me can solve some of these issues.
Nice. Well, congratulations once again. Fantastic, very stylish and an original story. I wish you all the best of luck with it and look forward to hearing where it goes next. But pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me on. I've enjoyed it.
Pleasure. Take care, man.